Hello, everybody. Mike Stokes, Wildlife University. Today, I'd like to talk about something that took me a long time to figure out. Without further ado, basically, the critical importance of insulating yourself in modern society is a very nuanced but critical idea that you have to master in order to achieve your highest potential in your life. So there's a cadence of evolution that happens on a personal level with each person. In the beginning of our life, when we are students, we expose ourselves to knowledge and information and people and experience. And through those experiences, we learn to develop our individual unique skills and potentials. And it's almost like you have to go through a crucible of losing yourself in order to find yourself. Back when I was in that phase, that phase of my life happened in my late 20s. It's going to happen at a different age for every person, but that's what happened for me. I was ready to really find my highest potential, and so I was willing to take on sometimes inappropriate energies. Nothing wacko or weird or nefarious, but just not healthy. So I had a coach back in this was in the mid to late 90s, where he was a really powerful guy. He could produce results that were pretty astounding, and I really learned a lot from him. But then there was one time when I realized that I was starting to become like him. And at this one crazy time in particular, I was in a store and I'd seen this lady who was, we were fellow yoga students in a teacher training program. And she was always kind of domineering, and I didn't really, I always felt sort of depleted after my experience with her. And I had this strange experience of this really intense, fiery energy in my belly, like literal physical feeling of it. And so this lady sort of came and started talking to me, and I really didn't say anything much to her. I was just like, yeah, okay, nice to see you. But I had this really strong sense of personal boundaries where I wasn't going to let her take any sort of energy from me. And that was new for me at the time. I had never really learned how to do that. I was sort of a psychic open mat, and I would just let people, take energy from me all the time. And so in this one instance, I just was like, nah, I'm not going to let you take any energy. I'm here. I'm being who I am. But I didn't say anything. I just literally stood there, and she got really angry and stormed off. And I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, that was really interesting. So it was an incredibly positive experience for me because I learned how much energy I was losing to people that are, supposedly your friends or supposedly kind and good, but just had an unconscious way that they zapped your energy and took your vitality or made you feel a little bit lower. So then after that experience, even though it was a positive experience, I knew that there was something negative that was going on in the way that I was possessing this energy, because it really felt like it was my coach's energy. and his name was John. It was John's energy. And so I began a very slow and painful process of pulling myself out of his energy, out of his influence sphere. I was working for him. I was being coached by him. There was a lot of sort of, it was just too intertwined. So I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, and by the end of that retreat, sort of hashing it over in my mind as I was trying to focus, I was able to, to separate completely, to sort of pull that energy apart. So what's the point of that story? The point of that story was that was the beginning of me learning how to insulate myself from energies that are not appropriate or healthy for me. One starting with seeing how he did it, and then learning like, wow, I've got to do it with him too. I got to get him out of my life because it's not, it's not an appropriate. He's trying to turn me into something that I don't want to be turned into, and a therapist or a partner or a coach in an unhealthy dynamic will, a lot of times, if you're a type of person who's very sort of fluid and yielding, will do that. They'll try to turn you into who they think you should be, rather than discover and let you become who you want to be and can be. So that was my initiation into learning how to do that. And so over the last 25 years, I've refined that idea to try, I don't know if I succeed, but I try to let in the influence that are opening and enlivening and even questioning, challenging me, but not the ones that are trying to impose their will upon me. And that's people, that's society, that's culture, that's media. So in order to achieve your highest individual potential, you have to insulate yourself. And so one is to insulate yourself from individual relationships that may be trying to impose their will upon you. And then another is insulating yourselves from media. So, television, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. But hopefully I'm a voice for extracting you out of unconscious influence and trying to bring more conscious, powerful influence in your life that's going to make you better at what you do. And hopefully if you're watching this channel, you're someone who wants to make the world a better place. Not just for yourself, but for everybody involved. So, insulate. So how do you do that? So for example, if I'm listening to the radio, so I like to check in, the beginning of my life was all about politics. I wanted to be in politics. I wanted to be a public servant. I wanted to go to the White House and make a difference. I thought that was the way to do it back in the 80s when I was growing up. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not true. A little tiny piece of me wants to do that. But I have a rule now. If I'm not going to take action, then I don't put energy into a lot of that information. Now, there's some information that's important that affects me that I try to stay just minimally abreast to. But I don't, in the past, I have to admit that I was a news junkie. So I would just ingest everything. And I felt empowered. So here's the thing you got to watch out for. When you're taking in information, from various sources, from people, media, culture, your local group, that can give you an incredible sense of belonging and power. I had that sense of belonging and power, but it was false because I never really did much with it. Occasionally I would go and, I worked on a couple volunteer presidential campaigns in the I think it was the early 2000s, but really I wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot. I was doing some. That's not entirely true. I can't be that negative about the experience. I was doing some good work. I was working for nonprofits, and I was doing that. But at some point, I turned, and I kept just sort of ingesting unconsciously media. And so when I'm going down, like today, when I was going down the road, I heard the various things that were important, that I felt, were sort of things that I needed to know so that I could be an informed voter, or I could sign the right petition, or something like that, and then I turn it off, especially when something comes on and it's a social or an environmental or a political cause that I know I'm not going to do anything about. If I'm not going to do anything about it, then it's not helpful for me to keep spinning my wheels around a particular information base unless I'm going to translate that into action. So that's really the question that you have to constantly ask yourself is, am I going to translate this into action? And if the answer is no, then the next question is why am I ingesting this media? And if it's just strictly entertainment and you're like, I just want to veg out and I need some entertainment, then fine, do that. But if it's something else and you're thinking that, you're becoming a better person, or you could be becoming a better person. That would be another reason to ingest some media. But be very skeptical with yourself and question, why are you ingesting media or any of our modern tools? I'm currently reading Deep Work. One of the things that he talks about is this mindset where we adopt a new technology or a new media because it has any benefit. So we adopt Twitter, or we adopt Facebook, or we adopt Instagram because, we maybe missed a party, or we would have missed something. But we rarely look at the costs. So there's a lot of opportunity costs. So if you're not familiar with the term opportunity costs, it's incredibly important to know. It's what it costs you to focus on one thing versus another. If you're focusing on Facebook, then you're not playing with your child. Or if you're focusing on Facebook, then you're not doing the work that you could be doing to make the world a better place. So there's all kinds of distractions in the modern world, so much more than there used to be. And those distractions don't help you get anywhere. I was blown away when I heard the statistic that people's productivity was going down. With all the tools that we have right now, it shouldn't be going down. The only explanation for people's productivity going down is that people are wasting a lot of their attention on social media and distractions. So in today's world, there's a constant demand for your attention. It's not demand. It's really a request. It's a constant request for your attention, and you have to get good at saying no. This is not important. There's the 4 quadrants. I think it's from Stephen Covey's book. I'm not really sure. There's the things that are important and urgent. There's the things that are important and not urgent. There's the things that are urgent and not important. And then there's those things that are unimportant and not urgent. And a lot of us stay in the last two, or in the first one, like it's urgent and important. But the one where you're really going to get ahead in life is where you're focusing on the things that are important but not urgent. These videos are a perfect example of me. These are important to me, and I hope to somebody out there, and I hope to you, but they're not urgent. Nothing is going to go bad in my life if I don't make these videos. But I try to put time out to make them every week, no matter what, because they're incredibly important for my spiritual well-being, my political well-being, my civic well-being. It doesn't really have anything to do with my economic well-being. I do like the permaculture idea of stacking functions, so I make these videos while I'm in an infrared sauna, which is very healthy for me, for almost anybody, unless you have some diseases which aren't compatible with infrared saunas, but almost everybody would benefit from it. But I digress. So you have to insulate yourself from media. How do you do that? You have to learn to question, why am I taking this in right now? And then you got to learn to ask the question, am I going to take action on this information that I'm ingesting? And then you got to practice saying, no, I don't need this right now. Another wonderful concept that I like that comes out of the Deep Work book is this idea of embracing boredom. I've really been practicing that. I've gone through periods in my life where I've had really long, extended sitting meditation practice, and I have mixed feelings about it. I see the benefits, and a lot of times I don't want to be spending hours on a cushion. But it's really powerful when I just stop ingesting media, or I stop ingesting whatever the distraction is. It's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, the movie that I'm watching, the latest great Netflix series, or books don't really count in my book because there's an active, outgoing. Books feel meditative to me. I think, I don't know, some scientist in there can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there's a part of my meditative brain that's getting exercised when I read books. I don't really read stories so much. I read a lot of nonfiction, informational stuff. So right now I'm reading Carl Jung's Man and His Symbols, and to me that's a meditation. I take myself away from the Netflix video that I was watching last night. That was a little easy because the baby was crying, and we not letting the baby watch the screen, and so it was easy to turn it off. So that goes back to other videos about how you want to create structures that make it easier for you to make the choices that you want to make in your life. So what's the point? The point is, I'll cut this part out while I figure out what the point is. The point is that you practice saying no to the distraction, whatever it is. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I don't really use Snapchat, so I don't know what that's all about. Emails, checking your emails all the time. And then embrace the emptiness that follows that. Because there will be emptiness. And just embracing that emptiness in itself is a meditation. By stopping and embracing that emptiness, you touch a part of yourself that's, for lack of a better term, it's approaching the void. It's that part of you that is the silent witness of life. And in today's world, that silent witness gets more and more put to the background. And in today's world, more and more you are going to be rewarded psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, the more you can tap in to that part of yourself that is not distracted by the shiny keys that are everywhere, because they're everywhere now. It's really incredible. So, in the beginning of your life, you expose yourself to all kinds of information, and you learn and you transform. And hopefully, if you're a younger person and you're watching this, I encourage you to go out and learn. Go out and just explore the world and learn everything. But realize, and stay with this, that ultimately, 99% of the time, what's going to happen is somebody's going to try to take your unique individual expression of power and joy and vision of beauty and enlightenment and sustainability for the world, and they're going to try to twist it into what benefits them. It happens. It's archetypally known as the betrayal of the king or the betrayal of the teacher. It always happens. So you need to plan, you don't need to, but you will be way ahead of the game if you're bringing in all this information. You're breaking yourself apart and rebuilding yourself philosophically, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, in your love life. And then you come back to a point where after you've been broken down and you're rebuilding yourself, then you rebuild yourself inside of your own unique power, your own unique contribution to the world. Now, I really think there's only one rule about that. The one rule should be, and I intentionally say should because I can't prove that it's scientifically so. It's an opinion that I have. Whatever you do should be in the service of others and of the well-being of this finite planet that is just like a tiny speck of sand in the universe that we're so lucky to have. And so much of the inertia of our previous bad decisions are eating up the basis of our being. Our natural being is being destroyed by just an inertia of bad choices. So that's, in my opinion, that's the only rule. The only rule is you can do anything you want as long as what you're doing is tailored to helping others and to making this planet a better place to live on for yourself and for future generations, for everybody, universally, not just for your little clan here, your family here, or your little clique there, but for everybody. And that includes your enemies. And that's really hard. And that is the root of Christianity, right? Christianity has a lot of crazy things that people adopt, but there is one thing that is undeniable, and it is the foundation of Christianity, and that is to love your enemy as yourself, to pull that beam out of your eye, that glare that you're charging down your enemy, and to see your enemy for a human being with kids and with family and with friends, and to try to make amends with them, or try to find an olive branch where you can come together without condoning any behavior that is unacceptable in the sense that it harms others, but also without righteous indignation that is totally intolerant of other viewpoints and ideas. I do have to say, I think in our era there's one idea that we have to be intolerant of, and that is the idea that we can just take from the earth without giving back. We all have to give more than we take from the earth now in order to create a state of balance so that future generations can simply live, let alone thrive. I hate to say it, but there will come a reckoning, and it will be a spiritual reckoning in a way, but that reckoning will be an environmental reckoning, and the tides will turn. People will come to cherish and worship the earth for for what it gives us. But my hope is that happens without too much damage. We're not going in that direction now, but I certainly hope that we do. And the more, it's my firm belief, I'm a little off track right now, but I just want to finish this thought. It's my firm belief that the only way to transform our environment is by transforming our cultural and social relationship to it. We need to see the earth as ourself, and we need to see, as the Native Americans did, the life forms on earth as our brethren, as our family. They have to be considered our family. And I really don't think there's another way outside of catastrophic destruction, which then makes people realize that they've never realized what they had in the beginning. So when you're creating this insulated world that you can do
what you're here to do and have the life that you've dreamed of. I'm not saying that you should live like a hermit and pull yourself out of society. But what I am saying is that you need to be, the more engaged in society you are, the more selective you need to be with the types of media, the types of people that you expose yourself to. And it's incredibly important to continually ask yourself the question, is what I'm believing and hearing, is this something that is coming from inside of me? Or is this somebody else's agenda? Am I unconsciously living somebody else's agenda? And, this kind of work is not for everybody. Most people aren't going to do it. So I don't have any illusions that all of a sudden everyone on the planet is going to start questioning authority and questioning the social norms and the ideas that have been presented to them. It's just too painful of a process for most people. I feel really blessed that I was always given free rein with my own ideas. I was never told that I had to believe. I was never told it was the right way to believe one thing or another. My mother would, try to push me in a Christian direction, but not really. And my father was pretty open to questions, and so that was the foundation that I was raised in. And then I found Joseph Campbell, who opened up a whole world of how to relate to spirituality and symbols. And now Carl Jung is deepening that in a way that brings meaning and power to life without dogmatic, rigid, dare I say it, false ideas that sort of are there strictly to keep everybody on the same page. It's a very dangerous world if you question society, if you question the norms. That's why totalitarian regimes always go after the media first. Because they know that if the people start questioning stuff, then the whole system can fall apart. And now what we have is we have a world in which, there's very little emphasis put on the question and a lot of emphasis put on, this is the right way, the conservative way. This is the right way, the liberal way. But very few people are really going through the process of, well, what is the right way? And why is the liberal way better than the conservative way? Why is the conservative way better than the liberal way? What are there parts of it that aren't? What's the benefit of the conservative way? What's the benefit of the liberal way? That doesn't really occur in American society today. If I were president, I would be doing the opposite of Donald Trump. What I would be doing, forget the policies. Let's just talk about the ideas, because whatever the president says gets repeated. So if we had a president who simply asked us to question our assumptions, to constantly question our assumptions on one side or the other, man, that would be such a better world. We might actually get some policy that was based in science and evidence rather than some dogmatic idea about what, the way it's supposed to be. So I digressed again a little bit there. I'm going a little freeform on this one, but the basic idea of this talk is if you want to achieve your highest potential, you have to insulate yourself. And you have to do it in an intelligent way, where you keep out negative influences and let in positive influences. And some of those positive influences are going to be a little hairy. They're going to be people that are a little prickly to your comfort zone. So you always got to challenge that emotional, psychic comfort zone. Because if you're not, then you're just going to become sort of rote. So you're going to become sort of drained down into one little tube, and then you'll be no better than anybody else. You'll just be stuck in your own little dogma. It'll happen to everyone and anyone, especially as you age. Because when you age, you do sort of narrow and focus in on what's comfortable. So you have to challenge your comfort zone. So I'm saying all great wisdom comes with a paradox and a caveat. So as you're insulating yourself, you have to check your insulation to make sure that you're letting in the positive influences. But the mistake that people make is like, oh, I gotta just let in anything and then let the flow happen. It doesn't work that way. You let in anything, then you're not gonna ever really fulfill your highest potential, and you're gonna be a little lost. So you have to keep that barrier. You've got to keep a healthy barrier. It's like the skin, right? The skin doesn't let everything in, but it does let some stuff in, and some of the stuff it lets in are poison. So you got to be careful what you let in. But it's an intelligent organ that's always trying to let in the good stuff, let out the bad stuff, and keep out, keep out the bad stuff. So that's it. Thanks for watching. This was a long one. If you watched this whole thing, I really appreciate your attention, and I really hope you got value out of it.